Welcome back to the Daily Crypto Deep Dive. It's Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. And today, we're talking about a war that never really ended. It just went underground. A war not fought with tanks or sanctions, but with code, liquidity, and users. This is the war for blockchain dominance. And right now, the Layer 1 battlefield is heating up again. Solana, Avalanche, Cardano, Ethereum. Each one trying to outbuild, outscale, and outlast the others. And after the latest market correction, the story isn't about prices anymore. It's about survival. Because if there's one truth that keeps coming back to crypto, it's this: not every chain can win. Over this deep dive, we're going to unpack the new balance of power between the major Layer 1 ecosystems. We'll talk about how Solana clawed its way back from near extinction, why Cardano's patience might finally be paying off, how Avalanche is betting everything on subnets and enterprise adoption, and why Ethereum, even after all these years, is still the empire nobody can quite escape. By the end of this episode, you'll have a clearer view of which blockchains are gaining strength, which are quietly fading, and what the next 2 years of this so-called altcoin war will really look like. Let's start with the big picture. Across the board, the Layer 1 sector has changed dramatically since the last cycle. In 2021 and 2022, it was about hype. Every new chain was an Ethereum killer. Today, it's about traction. Developers, users, and liquidity are no longer spreading evenly across dozens of networks. They're consolidating, flowing toward a handful of ecosystems that have proven they can actually handle scale. Right now, 4 names dominate the Layer 1 conversation: Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, and Avalanche. Collectively, they account for more than 80% of all active developers, most of the total value locked in DeFi, and nearly all of the daily active addresses that matter. But the gap between them is widening, and the strategies couldn't be more different. Let's begin with Solana, the comeback story that most people still underestimate. In November 2022, when FTX imploded, Solana looked finished. More than half of its ecosystem funding vanished overnight. The price crashed by over 95%. Projects paused development, liquidity providers fled, and analysts called it the FTX casualty. But fast forward to today, November 2025, and Solana is back near its strongest levels ever. The chain now averages over 1 million daily active addresses, according to Artemis and Messari data. Its total value locked has surged back above $12 billion, up from less than $400 million 2 years ago. That's not just a rebound, that's a resurrection. Austin Federa, head of strategy at the Solana Foundation, summed it up in a recent interview with Decrypt. Solana has positioned itself as the chain for real users: fast, cheap, and integrated into everyday applications. And he's right. Solana's identity isn't built around narrative anymore, it's built around performance. You can see it in Jupiter, the DEX aggregator that now dominates Solana's trading volume with more than $800 million in daily swaps. You can see it in Helium Mobile, which moved its entire network onto Solana and now processes millions of small-scale data transactions every day. At the core of Solana's comeback is a technical architecture that actually scales. With transaction speeds averaging over 65,000 per second and average fees below 2 cents, it's fast enough for consumer-grade applications. Despite this, there are still problems: outages, centralization fears, validator concentration, but they're being addressed. Network uptime has improved significantly since the 2023 mainnet upgrade, and validator distribution is far healthier than during the FTX era. Solana isn't just surviving, it's evolving, and that evolution is reshaping the Layer 1 landscape around it. Next up, Cardano. If Solana is the speed demon, Cardano is the philosopher. Its approach has always been deliberate, academic, and cautious. To a fault, some might say. Charles Hoskinson, Cardano's founder, put it this way last quarter: "We're not in the hype game, we're in the infrastructure game." And that's the paradox of Cardano. It's one of the most actively developed chains in the world, consistently near the top of GitHub activity charts, yet it's rarely the one making headlines. Cardano's DeFi ecosystem has grown, but slowly. According to DeFi Llama, its total value locked hovers around $420 million, far below Solana or Ethereum, but up more than fivefold from a year ago. It's steady, not spectacular. The real strength lies in its research-driven foundation. Cardano's protocol updates, from Alonzo to Vasile and now Voltaire, are designed to improve decentralization, staking efficiency, and governance at a pace the team considers sustainable. But that patience can be costly in attention terms. In a market that rewards speed and hype, building slowly can look like standing still. Still, you can't ignore that Cardano has something most projects envy, and that is loyal holders. Wallet data shows over 65% of ADA has remained stationary for 6 months or longer. That's conviction. So while Cardano may not lead every cycle, it refuses to be irrelevant. And in this war, longevity is a form of victory. Now let's turn to Avalanche, a chain with one of the most ambitious architectural visions in crypto. Avalanche's secret weapon is its subnet system, a framework that allows projects to create their own independent blockchains under the Avalanche umbrella. Each subnet can define its own rules, validator sets, and even tokens. The idea is simple but powerful. Give every project its own block space instead of competing for the same one. Ryan McNamara, a research analyst at Messari, described it best. Avalanche is betting that not every app wants to live in the same neighborhood. Subnets let them own their block space and their brand. That approach has attracted enterprises, gaming studios, and DeFi platforms alike. Avalanche now hosts over 90 active subnets, including ones built for gaming companies like Shrapnel and institutions experimenting with tokenized assets. Its collaboration with Amazon Web Services back in 2023 gave it a corporate credibility boost, allowing AWS clients to spin up custom blockchains with minimal friction. Today, Avalanche's total value locked sits around $1.7 billion, according to DeFi Llama. And while its growth hasn't matched Solana's velocity, its use cases are diversifying. Institutional interest, particularly in private subnets and tokenization pilots, has been a quiet driver throughout 2025. But Avalanche faces its own challenge: liquidity fragmentation. Subnets are powerful but siloed. Each one has to bootstrap its own liquidity pools, which makes attracting users harder than on unified ecosystems. Still, Avalanche represents the enterprise wing of the Layer 1 war, and its bet is that the next wave of blockchain adoption will come from institutions, not retail traders. Before we move to Ethereum, let's pause here, because at this point, we're halfway through the battle. So far, we've looked at 3 very different survival strategies: Solana's speed and simplicity, Cardano's discipline and patience, and Avalanche's customization and enterprise play. But all 3 share something in common. They're still orbiting the same gravitational center, and that's Ethereum. We'll take a short break for our sponsors. When we come back, we'll look at why Ethereum still rules the empire, how it quietly absorbs its rivals instead of destroying them, and what the liquidity data really shows about who's winning this Layer 1 war. Let's pick up where we left off, with Ethereum, the original Layer 1 that refuses to die. For all the talk about Ethereum killers, the truth is simple. Nobody killed it. Ethereum is not just alive, it's dominant. According to Electric Capital's 2025 developer report, Ethereum still commands more than 60% of all active smart contract developers across the industry. That's more than Solana, Avalanche, and Cardano combined. Its DeFi ecosystem remains unrivaled, with over $70 billion in total value locked, spanning giants like Aave, Lido, MakerDAO, and Uniswap. Its NFT volume, while down from the 2021 mania, still accounts for more than half of all blockchain-based art and collectibles trading. Joseph Lubin, the founder of Consensys, said it best: Ethereum doesn't need to kill competitors, it absorbs them. That's exactly what's happening through its Layer 2 expansion. Instead of fighting scaling wars on the base layer, Ethereum has evolved horizontally. Networks like Arbitrum, Optimism, Base, and zk-Sync Era now handle millions of transactions daily. Transactions that technically sit on Ethereum's security layer. This model has turned Ethereum from a single ecosystem into an entire operating system for the blockchain world. Even more telling, institutions now prefer Ethereum for tokenization. BlackRock's fund, Franklin Templeton's Benji tokens, and multiple stablecoin issuers are building directly on Ethereum or its Layer 2 equivalents. That's the kind of thing no competitor has replicated. But what makes Ethereum truly untouchable right now isn't just developer activity or institutional backing, it's liquidity gravity. James Butterfill, head of research at CoinShares, recently wrote, "Liquidity begets liquidity. Once it starts pooling, it rarely reverses without a major catalyst." He's right. Liquidity concentrates in the ecosystems that traders trust most. And right now, that means Ethereum and Solana. Together, they control nearly 70% of all DeFi liquidity across the market. DeFi Llama's latest numbers show Ethereum at roughly $70 billion TVL, Solana at $12 billion, and the rest of the Layer 1 field trailing far behind. That's not just dominance, that's hegemony. Deep liquidity attracts traders, which attracts more liquidity. Once that cycle starts, it feeds on itself. And while Cardano and Avalanche continue to build, the liquidity needle has barely moved. Avalanche's subnet liquidity remains fragmented, while Cardano's decentralized exchanges, like MinSwap and SundaySwap, struggle to reach Solana's daily volume, even on their best days. It's a brutal reality of the market. Without liquidity, innovation doesn't matter. So where does this war go from here? It goes global, and it goes vertical. First, the global side. The balance of blockchain power is shifting east. Hong Kong's decision to let licensed crypto exchanges share global order books with affiliates is the latest sign that Asia is positioning itself as the next liquidity hub. Julia Leung, the chief executive of the Hong Kong Securities and Futures Commission, said last week, "This integration enables local investors to access global liquidity efficiently with better price discovery." Eddie Yue, head of the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, called it part of a FinTech 2030 strategy aimed at making tokenization mainstream across financial products. Those comments matter because they signal a regional policy that favors liquidity concentration, not restriction. And the Layer 1s that can plug into that flow, especially those with strong stablecoin infrastructure like Ethereum and Solana, will benefit most. Now, the vertical side. The next phase of Layer 1 competition won't just be about throughput or fees. It'll be about vertical specialization, gaming, AI integration, data storage, and tokenized finance. Avalanche will target enterprises. Solana will chase retail adoption and consumer apps. Ethereum will own the institutional rails. Cardano will focus on research, governance, and long-term decentralization. Each will find its lane. And the winners won't be the ones with the best marketing. They'll be the ones with the most enduring user base when volatility returns. So the next question, what does this mean for investors and builders watching from the sidelines? It means you're witnessing the maturing phase of crypto's infrastructure. The early chaos, the explosion of copy-paste chains and short-lived hype, is over. What's left is consolidation, real competition, and strategic coexistence. This is no longer about one chain destroying another. It's about which ecosystems can survive long enough to matter. In the end, there won't be one victor. There'll be a handful of survivors. Chains that understand what they're really fighting for. Solana is fighting for usability. Cardano is fighting for trust. Avalanche is fighting for institutional credibility. And Ethereum is fighting to remain the foundation everyone else builds on. This is what the next decade of crypto looks like. Fewer promises, more execution. So the next time someone asks which Layer 1 will win, remember, wars like these don't end with a single empire. They end with a map redrawn, and the smart builders claiming the new territory before anyone else realizes the war has already moved. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, follow, and we'll see you at the top.